Hi guys, Maikeru here. I thought I'd do a bit of a different video today, and I wanted to do a tier list for the Runescape skills. I saw that Protox had done a video on a tier list of cosmetic appearance from 120 capes, and it is a pretty cool idea. And I've seen some people do some like boss tier lists on Twitter and stuff, so I thought I'd try myself. So I thought I'd start off doing it with skills, as I feel like a lot of people have different opinions on skills, and it would be pretty fun to talk about why I think a skill is better than another in terms of usefulness. Not in terms of fun to train, but in terms of how much the skill has to offer for RuneScape. What has that skill done for RuneScape? So as you can see here on this page, I have all of the RuneScape skills here, and I can rank them all the way from S being the best down to F being the worst. I will leave a link to this in the description to this video. If you want to make your own tier lists, feel free to share them and tweet them at me and stuff. Always interesting to see what other people come up with, right? So with that being said, let's get to ranking. I'll rank them in alphabetical order from agility all the way to woodcutting. Starting with agility, I would say this is probably one of the skills that's the closest to being useless. But if you've ever made a new account and you have 1 agility, you run out of run energy pretty damn often. So just because of that, I think I'm going to put it to E. The only thing this skill has to offer is to stop you resting here and there. Other than that, it literally gives you like no benefits really. There are a couple of agility obstacles out and about, but nothing crazy. And then like a couple of chances to get additional hunts and pickpockets. I guess that makes it a little bit better, but it's still E in my opinion. Archaeology next. So I was thinking about putting Archaeology in S tier potentially, but I think it has to go into A tier. I don't feel like Archaeology has as much to offer as a couple of other skills, but it definitely offers a ton. With Archaeology, you get relics to help you with skilling, PVM, etc. It also brought the Inquisitor's Staff and the Masterwork Spear of Annihilation into the game, which is pretty huge. So I would definitely say it's like A tier from all of its boosts, but I don't think it's S tier. Okay, so combat stats are an interesting one. Combat stats are super useful. You need them to kill monsters, right? You can potentially be a skiller that doesn't kill monsters, but it's so beneficial to do so. I think all of the combat skills that are like attack, strength, defense, HP, magic, range, other than like summoning and prayer, I think they all deserve to be A tier because they provide such a bonus in the game and they're all pretty much the same as each other. It just depends whether you want to be melee, magic, or range. So I do think they deserve to go in there. I think that's a fair assumption. Next up, we have construction. Construction's just not very good, is it? I think I only ever use my house for its repair stand, and then I sometimes get a weekly clue. Other than that, I don't really use it, but it does provide us with teleport tablets, which is still used for like shifting tombs and then different things for clues and stuff. I'd probably say construction is E with agility, but maybe a little bit better than agility. I think that's pretty fair. I don't think it's quite F, because it does still give us a couple of little things. Definitely needs an update. Next up is cooking. Cooking's a weird one, right? Because without cooking, you wouldn't really have a lot of the food for PVM, except for the ones that drop from monsters cooked already. But a lot of the monsters drop like raw sharks or raw rock towers and stuff like that. And things like sourfish and blue blubber jellyfish need to be cooked. So I'd probably put cooking in like D tier. Like it's possible to do stuff without needing cooking, but cooking does provide us with good stuff. I think that's fair. And I do think fishing probably falls under the same category as cooking, but cooking maybe a tiny bit higher, just because fishing's a little bit less useful because you can just farm like God Wars Dungeon 2 for sharks and stuff and cook them. Although if you want, again, sourfish, blue blubbers, you need to fish those yourself. So fishing is still useful because the best food in the game needs to be fished, right? Actually, you know what? I'm going to move cooking to C and leave fishing at D. I think that's perfect. I'm going to stick to that. I'm not moving them again. I think that's right. Cooking is more important than fishing because you can farm the food, but fishing is still useful because of sourfish. Alright, so crafting. Crafting allows you to make necklaces, amulets, rings, etc. So without crafting, we wouldn't have Luck of the Dwarves, we wouldn't have our other luck rings, we wouldn't have teleportation jewelry, even like Ring of Death and stuff like that. So it's pretty heavily used in those areas. Also, some of the different armors require crafting. Also, crafting is required for like Invention to be unlocked and such, so it's a pretty useful skill overall in terms of what it gives to the game. But is that as useful as like cooking fish, right? The actual fundamentals of crafting itself, no one uses the dragon hide anymore. Everyone just outs the dragon hide. Maybe someone will use like royal dragon hide in the wilderness, that's it. This is actually a lot harder than I expected when I first done this. I'm probably going to put it in C tier and after cooking. Because when it comes to crafting, you still need to craft to get the stuff to progress your account. Whereas, you can progress your account fine without agility, construction, fishing. Because you can get fish from other means. You really don't need that repair cost reduction in your player own house and whatever. And the run energy is nice, but you really don't run out unless you're going across Gillinor. And surges and bladed dive make it much easier. Yeah, we're going to go there. We're going to put it there. Jesus, this is actually pretty difficult. Up next, Divination. Divination provides us with divine charges. It gives us porters. Sign of life, I guess. But other than that, I don't really think it gives us anything. And I'd probably class divine charges more of an invention thing than a divination thing. Honestly, I think divination's like D tier, right? It isn't that great. The sign of life is nice and like the porters are decent, but you can get by fine in like 99% of skills without porters. I think that's a fair place to put it, honestly. Maybe with divine charges, it puts it above fishing, but I don't really think divination is as good as crafting when you're looking at the things you make with crafting compared to the things you make with div. We'll go there. Up next is Dungeoneering, and it has a ton of good rewards, to be honest. Like a decent amount of the starting things on your account that you want to get to help your quality of life are Dungeoneering related. You have a load of things like Charm and Imp, Bone Crusher, Demon Horn Necklace to go with the Bone Crusher, the Gold Accumulator, even like the Elite Dungeon upgrade chests and stuff. Then you've got all of the scrolls, like Scroll of Cleansing and stuff. It's just all around really helpful in other skills. I guess when it was released, it was even better because the Chaotix were more useful. Sadly, there isn't too many combat-orientated stuff they give you other than like the Ring of Vigor and stuff. But I think that deserves a solid B. I think Dungeoneering being in B is completely fair with the amount of boost it gives to other skills. Farming. I don't see farming being that amazing nowadays. I guess it helps with like herb runs, and then the new fruit trees and bushes are required for like primal extract to make the herb lore stuff. You have player-owned farms and Ranch Out of Time giving those pen perks, they're pretty good as well. There's some really, really decent ones, especially from Ranch Out of Time. I think that would allow farming, with all things considered, being around the same tier as like fishing and stuff. I don't really see it going higher than that personally. It doesn't offer as much as like Dungeoneering or Archaeology or even like crafting and cooking. I think here is fair. Fire making, literally only good thing in fire making is incense sticks. And are incense sticks really good enough to give it higher than an F rank? In my opinion, no. I do use incense sticks sometimes, but they're not good enough to make the skill actually a good skill. Fire making is just kind of useless, and it has one little tiny use, which doesn't make it any better than run energy from agility, or the multiple things that construction does offer, even if they're not that amazing. Neither are incense sticks compared to the other stuff that we've mentioned on the previous skills. Okay, so next is Fletching. Fletching, but criminal bolts are decent. Other than that, Fletching really doesn't offer anything too great. But criminal bolts are really good, but Fletching is still a bad skill, still not very good overall in the grand scheme of things. So I'd probably put it like E. It does provide scrimshaws and back bolts, but other than that, doesn't really provide anything, so I'd probably put it with construction. Herb lore. Alright, so herb lore is S tier for me. It's one of the very few skills that I would put in S tier just because of how many awesome things Herblore provides. There's power bursts that help out PVM, mobility, even skilling with like Master Stroke and stuff. You've got all of the extreme invention, extreme divination, runecrafting, etc. as well. So you've got, you know, the overloads of the skills essentially. And just overall, it helps so many other skills in the game and impacts so many different places. It's gotta have S tier. Hunter is next, and I'm a big Hunter fan. I do like this skill when like training it. I know that sounds weird because a lot of people don't like Hunter, but I personally enjoy it. But with that being said, it doesn't matter how fun it is to train for me. In terms of usefulness, it's not really that useful. You have Big Game Hunter, which gives you the Dragon Matuk and the Branch Out of Time animals, and obviously like the Pterosaur Maul. Then you have Skill Chompers, and then like Gremlin Spikes, and that's about it. I guess Salamanders are okay to disassemble for parts and stuff, but you know, most of it is like kind of junk. And because it really doesn't offer that much, it's going to have to go with like farming, right? It's on the similar wavelength of like farming, fishing, divination. It provides some stuff, but just not enough to make it like a very, very impactful skill. So it'll go next to farming and fishing for me. I've been waiting for this one. Invention. Instant S tier, dude. There's no better skill in the game, in my opinion, for helping the game compared to Invention. When Invention came out, it made so many dead items good items, right? You know, all of the things that you disassemble were worthless. They were junk items at one point, right? Now they're actually useful and they can provide useful parts for your Invention perks or whatever you're creating, right? Not only did Invention help revitalize all of those items, it also gives you perks that are amazing for skilling, amazing for PVM in terms of DPS and survivability, even perks that help you with like surging and bladed diving, like mobile and all of that. It's just insane. It's just such a good all-round skill and definitely the best skill in the game, in my opinion, in terms of how much it's helped and how useful it is. Number 1. Next up is mining. With the mining and smithing rework, mining got made a bit better because you don't just get all of your ore from monsters now. You get stone spirits and you still have to mine the ore. Even if you're not mining the ore, someone has to go mine that ore in order for you to go make your masterwork, trim masterwork, and random items that you might disassemble for components, etc. Someone has to mine that ore. So since the mining and smithing rework, I'd probably put mining on like C, where cooking is. It's kind of in the similar boat to cooking because you do have to cook the food, but it's not super useful for like other skills and impactful for the whole game, but just that particular part. Then I guess I'll put smithing just in front of mining because again, it's the same thing. They go hand in hand, and I think that's fair. We have prayer next. Prayer helps in a couple of skilling scenarios with like superheat form and stuff like that, light form, but mostly it's PVM orientated and it makes you deal more damage. But it is so crucial for PVM with like soul split and stuff like that I think it needs to go like quite high. I'd probably put it to like A tier because it does aid skin a little bit, but it aids PVM so much that it's a necessity nowadays. So A tier definitely. Next up is Runecrafting. You can get like nearly all of your runes just from shop runs and drops from monsters nowadays. I guess it's mostly like blood runes that you craft, maybe natures as well, because obviously you have a buy limit in the stores for like natures and stuff if you're alching a lot. But it really isn't that great in terms of a skill. It makes you a ton of money, but in terms of like how useful it is for the game at this point, with so many runes on drop tables, I'd probably put it with like construction, but at the front. I'd probably put it to like E, because things like air runes and stuff, you just go shop runs and people fund the GE with those by just doing them every day. No one really crafts air runes, right? So yeah, I think that's fair. Slayer's my favorite skill in terms of enjoyment in the game. Slayer is my favorite skill to go and train. But in terms of usefulness, is it good? I would say yes. It does provide a lot of gear. You know, from Slayer monsters, you get Cinderbanes, Nightmare Gauntlets, Blast of Fusion boots, Laceration boots, blood shards, and the list goes on. So I think in terms of like how much stuff it gives in support to combat, in terms of gear, I think that deserves like the same type of rank as Dungeoneering because of how much like help Dungeoneering does. And I think that's probably where I'll have it. Summoning. I think summoning is either super high A or even S tier because of how much it helps in different skills as well as combat. It's insanely helpful in combat, and with ancient summoning you have even more choices of things you can do now. You have nihils, you have like pack yaks, pack mammoths, ripper demon. Then for skilling you have some new ones with ancient invention like the water fiend and gargoyle. Then you've got older ones that help with skilling still. So I'd probably put it, is it S or is it here? In terms of usefulness and how many skills it helps, it has to be low S tier because it helps so many skills in the game. I think that's fair to put it in low S tier. Obviously, with all of these, feel free to tell me if I'm crazy and let me know yours in the comments down below or tweet me your tier list if you make one. It's always interesting in seeing other people's opinions. And lastly, woodcutting goes with firemaking. Honestly, it's even worse than firemaking. Woodcutting only gets elder logs that you can't get in combat, and then elder logs suck anyway, so it's all the way at the bottom. Definitely all the way down here. When it comes to thieving, thieving can be a good source of clue scrolls and some GP and supplies for like Iron Men with elves and stuff. Safe cracking is just really fast but doesn't really give you that much. Same applies with like other methods. It really doesn't provide you with much at all, but Prif elves kind of save it a little bit. I think it's F tier as well. I think it's the highest F tier because of Prif elves, but it's still pretty bad. It's going there and it's staying there. That is my tier list, and if you enjoyed this video, do make sure you give it a like, and let me know if you want to see other ones in the future, because I've actually really enjoyed making this tier list, and if you have any ideas for them, there's like bossing ones I could do, and then maybe we could do like most enjoyable skills, most enjoyable bosses, most profitable bosses, and stuff like that. You know, we can mix it up, Slayer monsters, whatever. There's so many different things we could do, so let me know your, ideas in the comments, and let me know if you like this video. And as always, until next time, see ya.